What is up, guys? Welcome to my review of the new comedy thriller Borderline. Now, this is a movie that honestly totally slipped through the radar. I hadn't really heard anybody talk about it. And then I just saw it on my Amazon Prime queue as a newly released film that had Samara Weaving in it. And I'll be damned if I'm not going to watch a new Samara Weaving film because she can do no wrong. And the premise of this movie is that you've got Ray Nicholson, who is this deranged guy that has this psychotic fantasy that Samara Weaving's character, who is this famous pop star, is in love with him and they're about to get married. And so he breaks into her mansion and holds her as well as some other people hostage while he undergoes this fantasy wedding. Now, as I said, I didn't know about this film, so I had no expectations whatsoever when I clicked on it. All I know is that Samara Weaving has done no wrong for me so far. She's one of, if not the biggest new age scream queen. And so I was hoping I would stumble upon some kind of a hidden gem that somehow is just fell under the radar and I'd be able to tell all you guys how awesome this movie is and you need to go check it out. Well, that didn't happen. But starting off with the positives, the one thing that I will say is that the two leads here, Ray Nicholson as your antagonist and Samara Weaving as your protagonist, are both really good. Ray Nicholson just really exploded onto the scene here over the last year or so with Smile 2 and him being in a lot of the posters with that signature Jack Nicholson style smile. And he was recently the villain in Novocaine, which he was really good in. So he's one of those guys that, unless I'm missing some major roles that he's had in the past, he's really just popped up on my radar, and he is really good here. He's good at playing sadistic and deranged. He's good at playing really goofy and off the wall and quirky. He's got a look about him that he absolutely gets from his dad that just inherently makes him seem like a creep. And so I don't know, maybe that'll stifle a bit of his range and what the roles he's able to get are, since he's pretty much all been somewhat villainous so far, or at least used for scares. But I really like what the guy brings. And, despite the fact that I'll get into the limitations on the things that he's given to work with here, I think that he's got star quality. And then, of course, Samara Weaving. Look, I don't care if you put Samara Weaving in an absolutely terrible film. I guarantee she's going to be the best part of it. And that rings true here. She just has that it factor. She is so great at everything that she does, whether it's being the victim, whether it's being a badass. Oftentimes it's kind of a mix of both, like it is in this film. There's a section where her character sings. I'm not positive whether or not that was actually her singing. It's probably not, but regardless, it was cool to see that. And so I think that she does everything that she can in here to keep that Samara Weaving signature charm. And there's moments here where you get to see her really shine, get to see her kick ass, get to see her be that final girl that she has been really known for over the last number of years. And I think that her interactions with Ray Nicholson, while certainly goofy, are also fun to watch. So those two, the people on the poster, the reasons why I clicked on this, are absolutely the thing that delivers most about Borderline. I did think that there were moments that what they were going for with this film had some quirky charm to it. There's this inherent thing going on with the Ray Nicholson character where he is very much just in a serious delusion of his own, that sometimes he'll look at a totally different character and he'll be talking to them as if they're Samara Weaving. It happens numerous times throughout the film. And there was one time in particular where you got a pretty good amount of comedic value out of that, especially with how everybody else is reacting to it and are absolutely thrown off. Even people that are in Ray Nicholson's camp in the movie, totally thrown off with how deep his delusion has gone. So the humor as a whole did not work for me, and I'm going to get into all the reasons why. But there was moments here like that definitely had potential, and I could have seen maybe experiencing this movie at a film festival and those specific moments really killing in that type of crowd. This is after the movie is over, but there is an end credit sequence here that I'll liken to the end credit sequence in Pearl, where you had Mia Goth just staring into the camera and going through all these different emotions for this extended period of time. You get a very similar sequence of that with Ray Nicholson here, where he goes through this different spectrum of emotions and you just read it on his face for a 3-minute period. And so that in and of itself, even though it's after the movie is over, to me was the highlight reel of this fucking guy's got talent. Let's see more. And as far as side characters go, I thought that Patrick Cox did a great job at being Ray Nicholson's character's male accomplice. He's kind of playing a version of the dumb, easy, manipulated redneck character, but it works. Like, the only times that I actually had a genuine audible laugh in this film came from his character, because I thought he just absolutely committed. Like, there's a version of it that is just like the stupidity of the character was funny, and then towards the end, leaning into kind of what I was just talking about with Ray Nicholson's delusion, him being the voice of reason in a sea of characters that should be way more of a voice of reason than him was also funny to me. So I got a good laugh out of what he was doing. But one thing I can tell you, if you ever find yourself being held hostage in your own house, but you still have to have your hunger satisfied, use the sponsor of today's video, Uber Eats. You ever had that feeling that you've worked really hard this week and it's time to treat yourself? Or how about this one, the feeling that daily life is always so busy? Like how I often find myself literally locked at this computer desk editing day in and day out. Well, thanks to Uber Eats, I can stay fueled throughout the workday, or even treat me and my family to some comfort food or desserts from our favorite restaurant at the end of a hard week. And it's so fast and simple. Whether I'm under a time crunch or just simply don't feel like cooking that night, I can count on Uber Eats to deliver my favorites right to my door. So if you want to take the stress out of mealtime, use code CODY15 for $15 off of your first $20 order on Uber Eats. That's $15 off of your first $20 order on Uber Eats using the code CODY15. And thank you so much to Uber Eats for sponsoring today's video. But now moving on to the negatives, unfortunately, outside of those few things that I've already mentioned, I don't think anything came together in this. There's nothing borderline about it. This is 100% a fucking mess. It is no mystery whatsoever why nobody was talking about this film, because I thought it was awful. And I hate having to say that, given the fact that Samara Weaving stars in it, and I really enjoy Ray Nicholson, and I'm rooting for this guy to get even more great roles. There was an idea here that had a lot of promise. And, you know, this is written by the guy who wrote Cocaine Bear, Jimmy Warden, and this is his directorial debut. I would probably say that he's got a better shot at just sticking to writing, because his directorial style really didn't have anything signature brought to this that I think elevated his own material. And the writing here, it was such a clash of extreme tones that I never really felt like it completely came together to say anything of merit. Like, they're going for a really dark thriller while also having some of the most like goofy and slapstick comedy all at the same time. And you'll just change tones from scene to scene, and it just never feels like it actually becomes cohesive for what this movie is doing. In a year where we've had successful as fuck horror comedies, and horror comedy has been just as strong this year as it's ever been, this is an example of times where it just really does not work. And I think it's a clash of both just the writing not being there, as well as him as a director not knowing how to merge those two together on screen in a way that doesn't feel so at odds with itself. It's a movie that actually wants you to be on edge during these home invasion sequences, or this slowly ratcheting tension of when and where and how exactly is Ray Nicholson's character going to finally snap, contrasted with these scenes where like his female accomplice has somebody literally vomit into her face and she laughs about it, or having a musical number that was cool to see just for a Samara Weaving fan, but felt so out of nowhere and just random as hell in the middle of what's going on, and especially with the scene preceding it, and even more so the scene after that. So this thing just, as a comedy thriller, either needed to pick one or really go back to the drawing board and figure out how to make them both work together. I also felt it was incredibly unclear exactly what this movie is trying to say. Like, are we making a comment on obsessive fandom? Are we making a comment on love? Like, there were so many things that it was obviously reaching for, but at no point in the movie did I get any kind of a clear indication of like what the actual statement the writer is trying to make here. And they're very clearly trying to say something, but it never felt like it was actually making a statement just beyond an opening statement. And so the storytelling, the metaphors, whatever they're going for here, just felt incredibly disjointed, unfocused, and it felt like it trivialized whatever subject matter they were trying to bring to the forefront. I also thought they did a terrible job at establishing any sort of a meaningful relationship that Samara Weaving has with any of the side characters. You've got Eric Dane here playing one of her old security bodyguards, And there's somewhat of like a redemptive arc that they're trying to do here based off of how the movie opens versus the events of the film and how they're trying to play it all off. You've got a guy that it always feels like they can't decide if he's like a platonic friend or a love interest. This basketball player that she's friends with, I mean, it just at no point gave us any kind of meaning or relationship with the normal people that are surrounding Samara Weaving that gives us something to invest in where things are going to go, who's going to survive, who's going to make it through this. And so it's just kind of like people hanging out in this house that the connective tissue between these characters was just never present. And so I never cared. I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity to set this film very clearly in the 1990s, but not really do anything with that. It felt like they only did that to get rid of the cell phone problem, which, you know, fine. Maybe that was the only reason and there wasn't much inspiration past that. But as somebody that grew up in the 90s, I really like it when a movie actually dives into that era. You know, the 80s is one of those eras that always is like the star of the show whenever they go back to that time period. And the 90s just doesn't really ever get its due. So I would have liked it more if, especially with a pop star being your main character here, if we could have had some references to NSYNC and Britney Spears and have the 90s pop scene, which is when it seemed to be at its height, to be a little bit more of a flavor in this movie. I don't know, felt like a missed opportunity to not dive into that a little bit more. And finally, I gotta be honest, I wish there was a bit more carnage candy in this film. There's a couple of kills here where it really feels like they're about to go for it. And, you know, as somebody who wasn't enjoying much about what else was going on, that could have done a lot for me to enjoy this, especially as a film that's already rated R because of the language and everything. It's like, why wouldn't we go there? And it really felt like almost like they were being edited down like something in the 80s. Like they would just kind of give a shot of something and quickly cut away from it. And I'm like, why? Especially for those of us that are Samara Weaving fans, all of her movies for the most part go for it with that. Whether you're talking about The Babysitter or Azrael or Ready or Not, like don't ever shy away from the carnage candy when you got Samara Weaving as the lead of your film. So that was another thing where it was just like, okay, now it seems like you're trying to piss me off. What's the deal? What did I do to you? And, you know, I didn't find out until after I saw this film that Jimmy Warden, the writer and first-time director of this film, is actually Samara Weaving's husband. And he's one of the writers for The Babysitter Killer Queen. And so clearly they have had some kind of a working relationship that has spawned into an actual relationship. And I want to root for them, but it's always cool when you have a husband and a wife that can work together and create some awesome shit, especially if they both, which they should, have a very clear idea of what Samara Weaving kicks ass at, what her fans want, and really harnessing that into giving us a string, hopefully, of really cool, really fun movies. Borderline just wasn't one of them for me. So I root for him. You know, I hope it doesn't turn into one of those Melissa McCarthy situations where every time she works with her husband, everybody's like, oh, God, this is not going to be good. Overall, guys, I was really hoping that Borderline was going to be one of those little hidden gems that I could discover, but it turned out the mystery of why it was hidden was not much of a mystery at all. So if it really sounds like it's up your alley, give it a shot. Maybe you'll enjoy it more than I did, but if you like Samara Weaving films like Ready or Not and Babysitter and Azrael and you want the next one of those, I don't think Borderline is it at all. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed that, click over here for all of my other 2025 new release reviews. I'm also going to put my review of Azrael, the last Samara Weaving film I reviewed, up here. Please check that out as well. Like, share, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss everything in the future. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.